Hi guys, Dr. Cho here. So today I wanted to kind of go over the next step of this process, which is to create an equipment list. So there are a few differences between even optometry offices. There's obviously the bread and butter, that's kind of what you usually see in optometry offices. I'll go over that first, and then the next part is I'm going to actually kind of go in depth more for a contact lens specialty practice, because that's the one that we're dealing with right now. So I'm going to kind of refer to the list that I made just to make sure I don't forget anything. So to start off, the bread and butter, basically we want to make sure there's at least one exam lane where we can just do the very basic eye exam, and so that would entail an exam chair and stand. You want to look into a FLOEopter and see if you want a digital or if you want manual, totally up to you. My personal preference is a digital, just because I do think it gives a wow factor and it does help in sales of glasses, but to each their own. Auto refractor, auto lensometer, and the retinal camera. I'm kind of grouping them together because that usually is in the pre-test room. Actually, in mine also, we have the eye care, which measures your patient's eye pressure. So all of those I think is really basic. You need to have some kind of form of all of the equipment that I listed. The level of, I guess, newness, it really depends. I mean, if you want to go more for like a modern, latest technology office, which I think is very common nowadays, so I think that's kind of become a normalized standard. You want to definitely do all digital, so you want to be able to sync it all together so that it can sync over to your digital FLOEopter. Even if you have a manual one, it's really nice to have a digital thing that kind of syncs all together so that it goes straight to your software. So that's one argument someone can make for that. And then for the eye care stuff, I personally really like eye care. I don't know if you guys all used it, but it's basically one way to check out your patient's eye pressure. There's the gold standard, which is GAT, which I find very time consuming, even though it is supposed to be gold standard. There's also NCT, which I personally hate, and I remember I vowed to myself even before I went to optometry school that no matter what, I would not have an NCT machine in my office, and I kept to that promise. It's just really, I feel like it's unnecessary torture for the patients, and I think all the patients would agree. So what I'm trying to do is find things to delegate as much as possible. So I was doing GAT at the beginning because I wanted to keep my costs low, but what I was finding was it was extending my patient exam time by about 3 or 4 minutes per patient, which can add up. So I invested in the eye care and really happy that I've done that ever since. The other thing that we can look at is kind of more the accessories, or kind of the non-essential equipment for the eye exam. And what I mean by that is desks, chairs, TVs, if you wanted to do some internal promotions, or if you wanted to do some patient education material on there, which you can show patients maybe after you're done with the exam. So for example, if a kid has myopia or something like that, and the parent is there, you can have a video playing with information about what myopia is in simpler terms. For the other furniture, I think the biggest furniture cost-wise is definitely the receptionist desk and the optical displays. So receptionist desk, very self-explanatory. It does tend to cost a lot more because a lot of the times it's customized to your space. So it depends on what material you use, how intricate the design is, how many people will it be fitting, will it also be handicap accessible, which is actually mandatory in California. So depending on that, cost obviously can range widely. Then for the optical displays, it's the same thing. If you want something that looks super modern, super different, that will cost a lot more. If you wanted to put in like LED lights, or if you just wanted backlighting or even track lighting, that small difference actually can add up to in terms of cost. So definitely shop around when you're looking for someone to build out your space and get bids from different contractors, because I actually went the customized route, and I'm really glad I did, because they were able to build it specifically for my practice. Not only that, I was able to create the exact display that I had in my mind. So if you have a very design specific idea, you definitely want to go more the customized route so that you can create something that you're really excited to see every day, and also patients will be more willing to purchase if it's more aesthetically pleasing. The next step is to figure out what's needed to make sure that all the patients are getting the full extent of the services that you're offering. So if you're going to be a contact lens specialist, as a patient, I would expect you to be able to do orthokeratology, maybe fit keratoconus or irregularly shaped corneas, maybe even do some hard to fit contact lenses, patients that have really high astigmatism or whatever the case. So there is kind of like a very common denominator in contact lens specialty practices, I think. So with that said, the equipment that I would think is required is definitely a topographer, so that you can measure the curvature of the eyes and also make sure you take into account any irregularities in the cornea. I think pachymeter is something that is a nice to have, maybe almost a need to have. Maybe even having a camera that can document the viewing of the front part of the eye, just because sometimes it can be really cool to find some images or some videos to show the patients of their own eyes, just to show them, hey, this is what's going on in your eyes. This is the fluorescein pattern that I'm seeing. Or just I think patient education is really, really key, and the best way to show patients something is by pictures, because pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? So I think in a nutshell, that's kind of the things that I'm looking for. Some conditions you're actually able to bill for those front images too, so that's a whole nother potential income. Other stuff that can be kind of included in terms of like your list or checklist is creating accounts with other contact lens vendors. So there are a lot of specialty contact lens companies that make all these contact lenses. Just make sure that the one that you're working with is really good and has a great reputation with responding to doctors and turnaround time, because I think that actually is the most important. And also make sure you understand what their warranty is like and what their replacement for redos and that kind of stuff is like. There are some companies that are actually run by other optometrists, and so I'm all about supporting other optometrists. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I can definitely send you over some of my recommendations. And I think that's it. I mean, it's really simple. I don't think contact lens specialty, even though it seems like it's such a big differentiating factor for practices, it doesn't really entail that much more equipment. So yeah, that's about it. Next one, I think it's going to be more hands-on, so it's going to be a view of the screen. I just wanted to make sure that we kind of broke up these videos, not to be so boring and just showing a screen, but having conversations with you guys, so it's a little bit more realistic. Sorry if I keep looking behind. I just have like a really, really cool view behind me, and I don't know, it's really hard not to keep getting distracted. So maybe next time I'll set up somewhere else in the office. But let me know if you guys have any questions. I'd love to hear your guys' feedback on what you thought on this part. I think for the contact lens specialty part, that one will be a little bit more specific. So actually I'll roll out that video after this one. This will be more of a general one. So thank you guys.